Welcome to the Socialite series, where we celebrate and promote women who influence the world. We do this each and every week to bring you information, inspiration, and motivation from socialites who have something to say. I'm your host, Monica Karst. Now let's get this party started. Welcome to the party, people. You're here with us live on a Tuesday. I'm Monica Karst, and Tuesdays are my favorite days. You're listening to the Socialite series, and today we're on episode number 12 with the fabulous Jean Sibley. You can always join our conversation by dialing 248-629-0921. That's 248-629-0921. And just a reminder, today's show is sponsored by Santa Cruz Skin Solutions and Integrated Wellness, located at 720 River Street in Santa Cruz. So be sure to visit their website at santacruzskinsolutions.com. They specialize in a holistic approach to healthy skin, and a healthy body. With that, let's get started. So now on our show today, we've got our special guest host visiting, Jean Sibley. And she's a coach for women over 50 who want to unleash and express their creativity, freedom, and desire for greater meaning and contribution. And Jean is living proof of that. So I'm so excited. Welcome, Jean. Glad to have you this morning and happy you are here. Yay!
Hey, me too, Monica. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
Well, you're full of fun, full of surprises. You are living life to its fullest, and you live a very authentic life. So let's talk about that and tell everyone how you did it and give them some inspiration to be like Jean. Let's tell the world why you are so awesome. Let's get started and talk about your story. Can we start way back when? Is studies about Asian studies. Let's talk about your Asian studies background. Can you give us a little history on that?
Sure. I grew up in a place called Winnipeg, Canada, and I didn't find it too fascinating, but I learned French, and I loved that, and that made me realize there's a lot of different cultures and languages besides English, and I got inspired to move to Vancouver and study Chinese and Japanese. And that opened up an opportunity to live and study in China for 3 years.
And what was that like as an American young woman in the, 70s? Traveling to China?
Yes.
Traveling to China
late 70s,
alone.
Yeah, well, I was with student exchange program. So I wasn't alone. There was a group of us who, got this scholarship to study at Beijing University or one of the other universities that were opening up again at that time. And everything was paid for us, including travel. So it was really fascinating. It was a time of a huge turnaround from the Cultural Revolution towards the modern era, and it was completely fascinating.
And what was taking place in China at that time?
I was actually there during the time when Premier Zhou Enlai and Chairman Mao died, and the Gang of Four was arrested, and there was a humongous earthquake, and that all happened in my first year. So those were all huge events, and people started talking about what happened in the Cultural Revolution and moving away from that era once the Gang of Four was no longer in the picture. And then started looking at, what China could do. And Deng Xiaoping came back to power, and he was one of the main architects of China's modernization, which really started in the 80s. So it was a fascinating time of turnaround. And you never knew what was going to happen the next day. So pretty amazing to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. And now while you were there, did you yourself, were you living with a family? Were you with other Americans? What was the setup there?
We were living in a dormitory with a lot of other foreign students, and there were students that you would never otherwise meet. For example, there were North Koreans next door to me, and we all had Chinese roommates, which was another innovation of the time. We had Chinese classmates in our history class, and we were all learning in Chinese together. So,
okay. So that's what I was going to ask next, is if you were learning in Chinese. Okay. So you were actually studies in Chinese. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Very cool.
So it was a fascinating dormitory. You know, there are a lot of Albanians downstairs, and the students from, you know, Western and former Eastern Europe and Mexico and Japan and Africa and Vietnam, and but no American students at that time, because the U.S. hadn't yet recognized the PRC as the real government of China. It was still recognizing only Taiwan. So being Canadian, I could get on this program along with students from other countries that recognized China.
And thank you for correcting me on that, because I did say Americans when Americans weren't there. It was, and you were from Canada, which allowed you to go do this experience. So thank you for that. Mm-hmm. Where did that take you? Because going from it's the whole story of and it's fascinating, the Asian studies, Canada, to going to China, to then entering into the high tech world.
Yeah. So
how did you
later
to that?
I later did a master's degree in language studies at the University of Hong Kong. And while I was there, I met some professors from UC Berkeley, and I applied to UC Berkeley, and I was accepted into a graduate program in Chinese linguistics there. But during that time, I was introduced to computers, and I wasn't sure that I wanted to spend the rest of my life in the Chinese field. You know, it had been really awesome, but I thought, well, I can translate, I can write, I can teach. I think high tech will be an interesting place for people that can explain technology. So I went out into the industry in the early 80s, and I got lots of job offers because I had a portfolio that I had created myself, where I had, you know, written articles on, you know, basic concepts in computing, which were still new to a lot of people back then, like what is word processing?
Oh, yeah. Complete language in its own.
There wasn't such a thing as user friendliness in the beginning. And some people would say, well, it's still not always user friendly. But I could write clearly. Yeah, I could write clearly and explain things and help people learn software skills. So I had a really good career in that for a number of years.
Yeah, so now it's early 80s. You are a woman in high tech with Asian studies. That's not your typical, you know, that's, what was that like for you? Did you come up with struggles? Did you have to prove yourself in the tech world? How was that?
Well, the tech world is still kind of short of women, but there's more and more talented women that are gaining prominence. You know, for me, it was just really interesting. You know, my writing skills were valued, and I became an important member on software development teams because I could contribute good ideas to the actual design of the software. So I appreciated that, and I had a lot of really interesting opportunities on, you know, software that was hitting the world for the first time. You know, it was very exciting innovation going on in the 80s and the 90s. And I did think, well, how could I marry this with my background in Chinese? So I actually took a delegation of women in telecommunications to China in 1985.
Oh,
And, we visited the Shanghai radio station, and we we did a lot of sightseeing, but it was actually the first technical delegation of U.S. women to China, 1985.
very neat. What a great experience.
Yeah.
And so then moving on, so then you had a daughter. Now you're a mom with all of this and throwing that into the mix, and being a mom
Hmm.
period is work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how are
So
you able to keep up with all
in the late 80s, I realized that I could start working from home, and I was very excited about that, because even though it was the screeching 56K modem in those days, the way to connect to the internet, to me that was the sound of freedom.
Yeah.
And I think I would have been a tech nomad back in the late 80s if I could have. But you had to have your own ways to hook up, and there weren't, internet cafes or anything like that.
Sure. Now it's everywhere.
But I
When
had
it
I had
was.
I had I had my daughter in 1991, and I was able to sometimes work from home, which is such a huge benefit for parents, and especially single moms.
Yes.
And she was able to come to work with me sometimes, because
Really?
software companies have casual cultures, and
Mm-hmm.
she could drop in, and people enjoyed that. So she didn't come that many times, but that was another option that was available sometimes.
Sure.
But working at home was really great, and I had a good income, so I could afford, to take her on good vacations, and pay for daycare and things like that.
So you're
I think it was a good combination,
yeah.
Yeah.
And you make it sound so easy and all transitional. There had to have been some hardships and something along the way that, how did you overcome things when they came up? What did you
Well,
use?
I had issues with the custody case, and that was something that I had to grow through,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually it wasn't so much of an issue, but I didn't have like a good parenting situation. But
Yeah.
we all grow and change, and I learned more skills, and I had more resources to deal with that over time.
Yeah,
And
I
then when
like how
she finally graduated from UCSC, I felt this my time to start traveling again and get out there, because the experience in China had really shown me that you can choose your culture, and you can find the best and work with it. So I
now.
have gotten back to that life.
So finding the best and working with it, it's the finding your best is going to be different for everyone. Everyone is going to find
Yes.
something that's their best that's different. How do you know
Mm-hmm.
when you find your best? What are you looking for? What do you look for personally? What is that for you?
Well, the best could be the most interesting to visit, or it could be a place where I want to live in future. I had such a desire to see more of the world, and kind of get outside the North American bubble where I've, spent a lot of the last 30 years.
Sure.
So once I took off, which was last September, I went to some countries that had been on my list of favorites. And that included Norway, Sweden, and Finland. And also, I've just always been fascinated by the Baltic countries, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, where I had an awesome time. And then it's just like, well, what can I do next? So I spent the first 3 months in northern and central European countries, traveling in the off season, which is always a wonderful time to travel. There's fewer travelers and lots of deals. And then I went to India for a month.
Ooh.
And Southeast Asia, and then Australia and New Zealand. So a lot of those countries had been places I wanted to spend more time in.
Yeah.
And just seeing how people are traveling these days and meet other, tech nomads who are out there creating businesses and learn about that. So for me, I don't know if I'm answering your question about that.
Oh, yeah.
Like you say, everybody has their own definition of what that is.
Right. Now, you've done this all since last September, not even a full year?
I've been to about 35 countries since last September.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Impressive. So tell us, because when I hear you say this, for me, it's scary. It sounds scary to get on a plane. Where do you start? How do you let go of your possessions? And what type of mindset do you have to be in? What type of preparation do you have to do to just get up and go to 30-something countries in less than a year? What is that?
Well, that's a great big juicy question, Monica.
And I know you help women do this. So this is part of your coaching plan, and I know that, but just give us a little taste.
Yes. Well, what happened for me was that last summer, there's kind of a slowdown at the software company I was working at. And I had a great job, and the job was supposed to be 50% travel job. And it didn't really turn out like that. So I did do one big trip with the company to India and Sweden and the Czech Republic. That was really awesome. But it wasn't really turning into that kind of job. So I brainstormed this with some people in the company, and I thought I might actually work for the company out of Europe and Asia Pacific. But there just wasn't enough opportunity at the right time. So I decided I'll set up my own training company, which I did. And that enables me to have a travel-oriented business and be able to deduct my travel expenses. So that was one strategy. But then there's the whole process of leaving your home community. I no longer owned a home, so I didn't have to consider about selling a home. But I didn't want to maintain a home here while traveling. I didn't feel I had a reason for that. And I was ready to let go of a lot of stuff I'd had in storage. So I started selling it and donating it. And before I left, I sold my car. So I became location independent, which, frees up even more money for traveling. So, I traveled with my savings from, living inexpensively and working for a software company. And then I got a huge tax refund this year while I was still traveling. And that's when I started creating my coaching business. So I could guide other women who want to, have adventures and do things they've never done before, or explore how to have a creative online business that lets you travel. And those are the sorts of things that I now coach about.
And let's talk about your coaching business. What's it called? Where can we find people about that?
So the coaching business is called Freedom Pass 50. And if you go to http://freedompass50.com, and don't put a www in there or it'll take you to the wrong place. So it's http://freedompass50.com. And you can find out more about me. There's a short video there. And you can click a button to get a free strategy session with me. So you can tell me about what you're looking for and what your challenges are, and we can have a 30 to 45-minute call and in which I hope to solve a couple of your key challenges and give you ideas for, what would work for you. And it's not necessarily about travel. You might be done raising your kids and you're not so interested in your career anymore, and you want to you want to reclaim your own passions that you had maybe before kids. And for me, travel was a passion, and creative writing is a passion. I started a blog, and then from the blog, I grew into this awareness that, I have a lot of knowledge and skills to share. So that led to the coaching business. So that's the coaching business. But I also created a great little online course, and that was my first product I developed to sell, and I did that while traveling. And it's called Dream Trip Gets Real. And so you can go to http://dreamtripgetsreal.com.
And you said Dream
Trip.
Okay.
dreamtripgetsreal.com. And that's a very inexpensive course that's packed with budget travel tips and how to prepare. I packed a lot of tips into there, but there's just like one action that you take for 21 days so that you reclaim that dream trip and you don't keep putting it off.
So this takes away from that fear. This is the course on doing what you do and go 21 days to get your dream trip. So dreamtripgetsreal.com. I'm going to have to visit that one.
And I have a free ebook called 10 Creative Ways to Fund Your Dream Trip.
Oh.
And you can get that by going to my blog, which is stopworktravel.com. And that's all one word, stopworktravel. And sign up. Sign up for the blog, and you can explore. I have stories on there, like you had asked about downsizing, Monica. Well, I wrote a whole interesting post about that process, which was pretty big to downsize.
Fabulous.
And I discovered a lot of new tricks, like how to digitize all your old formats of media. And so I was really able to happily give away a lot of my stuff and archive a lot of what I wanted to still keep.
Fabulous. Okay, so I find you fascinating. And while we don't have a whole lot of time to get to the meat and potatoes of who you are and how amazing you are, it does give people some little bit of tingly feeling to get to know you are doing this. You have done this. You have helped us to do this, because now you have how to break it down on a dream trip, how to finance the traveling, and take over the world, basically, and eat every country at a time. Correct. That's what we're going to be doing. So, and to not be afraid, which is, fear keeps us from doing so many things. Yeah. And also by reaching your goals, because I know you said something about playing it safe, like we're taught to play it safe. And you're a huge advocate of we don't play it safe. Of course, there's safety, but tell us about how you help tell people to listen to their inner voice and not play it safe.
Yes. So I agree with you. It's important to be safe, but it's not always important to just go by the rules of what society wants you to do. And I did all that, I got my master's degree and I worked for and I did have a good career, but last year I just finally asked myself, is this the legacy you want to leave? Shouldn't you be developing your own work in the world that has meaning to you? And I had a really strong intuition that my calling was out in the world, that I should go out there and connect with other creative people who want to do new things in the world, and who understand that the world of work is changing a lot, and that there are plenty of interesting countries that are actually cheaper to live in than the North American and some of the European countries. And that gives you even more leeway to create something, because, your cost of living has gone way down. So it's just a kind of combination of my own intuition and my own understanding of this sort of new frontier that's out there that I've played around a lot in. And when you play around in it, when you get out there, you meet a lot of creative people we're sharing our resources and ideas, and we're partnering, and we're having masterminds about, how do you create a fulfilling life outside of norms, outside of the rules.
I love that.
I feel very empowered and happy. I don't think I've ever been this happy.
I love to hear that.
Figured out everything. But
no.
Happiness is pretty awesome.
Oh, I'm sure some people will live a lifetime without feeling the happiness. Oh, that happiness is extremely exciting, and I'm so happy that you're happy. Tell us real quickly, what you are only in Santa Cruz a couple weeks. Where are you next? Where are you off to?
Yes, I'm off to Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, and Guatemala between September and December.
Nice. That is fabulous. With what? A backpack, a suitcase, just you?
I travel pretty light, less than 25 kilos. I keep it simple. I did a lot of planning around what's the minimal stuff that you need to take. And, some of it's gear and gadgets and then clothing. And you really don't have to take that much. And there are places where you can also buy things you need. So I think I've got that down. And that's one of the things you learn about in my inexpensive travel course.
Super, which we will post on the Santa Cruz Facebook page. We'll post all of Jean's links and ebook and tools and how to reach her so that you can find happiness just like she is, because she's living proof. So, Jean, as we wrap up, I want to say you are a huge inspiration to me. And I thank you for not playing it safe and actually getting out there and exploring the world to show that it's possible for us women to get out there and to do the same, and for giving us the tools to be able to do it. You lay it out all right here for myself and any other woman who wants to get out.
Thank you, Monica. And I just want to say, because there's a lot of different links I have, that your listeners are free to email me, jeansibley@gmail.com, JEAN, S as in Sam, IB as in Bob, LEY @gmail.com. And just tell me what you're interested in. I have a couple of events coming up in Santa Cruz I can invite you to, and you can get on a free strategy call. I don't have a ton of time for that, but I do have some that I opened up in my schedule. And I also do that from the road. So
great. Wow.
Many ways to get inspired.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything you want to throw out there before we let everybody go? Because you are awesome and you've got so many tips and tools. And here I'm excited to give out all of your links to other women to get excited about world travel. And it's not even world travel. Like you said, you do mentorship just for empty nest or change of life, or, just wanting to do something.
Yes, I would say if there's something that's calling you, that keeps coming up for you, pay attention to it and follow that down deep inside, because that's your real, true, deeper self that has a message for you about what you're meant to still create with your life. So go there.
I love that. Yes, absolutely. Listen to that. Thank you so much, Jean, for being on today. That's a wrap for today's show. I want to thank Damian, our producer. And again, Jean Sibley, which we will put all of her links and information on the web, as well as social media. So you could go in and visit her and be prepared to be inspired and do it yourself. And thanks to you for listening. Again, this is Monica Karst, reminding you every day is a day to celebrate. Thank you for tuning in to the Socialite series. To find out more, visit us at santacruzsocialites.com and monicakarst.com. Until next week, Be seen and be heard, and get out and shine your social light on your community.